the true story. Boy who wanted to play baseball more than anything else in life helped him fulfill that ambition. This is the story of Willie Davis, the biography of a rookie. I'm Mike Wallace. I'm standing at home Coliseum. Home baseball stars Gil Hodges, Jim Gilliam, Johnny Podres, and for every little leaguer, sandlotter, and there emerged an dream, the hope of someday wearing a Dodger uniform. A quarter of the Los Angeles area shared that dream, and one of them lived just from here. His name was Willie Davis, and this is his story. A fantastic journey through the world of baseball, the way he saw it, the way he lived it.
Actually, I lived 2 miles from school. Every time I had to run, I'd have to run 2 miles. 2 miles to school and 2 miles from school to get to my paper route. I just running up the hills, downhill, up, and never stopped running. So I get there and I was 2 or 3 minutes late, and everybody says, "Where you been, Willie?" I said, "I've been running."
He went to Theodore Roosevelt High in East Los Angeles, near the industrial section of town. Like most boys in his class, Willie didn't know quite where he was going. When you're 18 years old, you live in the present. You figure the future will come sooner or later. So Willie took school as it came. But when he stepped on the athletic field, Willie entered a special world of his own. In his senior year, his broad jump mark of 25.5 was the best high school effort in the country. His natural talent amazed his coaches as he smashed records in track and basketball. But of all the sports he played, baseball fascinated him most.
Ever since Willie was 12 years old, he always liked to play baseball, and he always kept a bat behind the door. And whenever he would come home from school, he would grab his bat, and I knew he was home.
With the Dodgers now in Los Angeles, every kid in the neighborhood went baseball crazy, especially Willie and his brother Tommy. All his mother heard around the house was baseball. Baseball, baseball. Willie's skill as a ball player for Roosevelt High earned him a citywide reputation. And one day, Kenny Myers, a scout from the Los Angeles Dodgers, came to watch him play. Kenny had settled down near Los Angeles with his family after a career as a player and manager in the minor leagues. He used his vast experience to find and develop new players. Kenny wasn't particularly impressed by Willie's pitching or hitting, but he did like the way Willie ran.
Starters, go to your marks.
At the game, Kenny learned that Willie was Roosevelt's greatest track star. In fact, the best all-round athlete at Roosevelt High in years.
Get set.
Kenny had his own special theory. Find a great natural athlete with superb speed, start from scratch, and you could build him into a big leaguer in just a few years. Willie Davis had all the elements. But for Kenny, there was one unknown factor. Would Willie be interested in professional baseball?
I walked down and I asked him how he felt about being a professional ball player, if he'd ever even given it a thought. He said he had thought about it all of his life. That was his biggest ambition. I told him that he would have to put a lot of time with baseball. It wasn't something that he was going to just do overnight, something that he could walk into and become a star right off.
Willie had an important decision to make. Kenny offered to work with him after graduation to see if Willie really had the makings of a professional ball player. But Kenny couldn't guarantee that it would lead to a Dodger contract. At the same time, UCLA had offered Willie an athletic scholarship. It didn't take long for Willie to make up his mind. It was baseball all the way, the chance of becoming a Dodger, and he just couldn't wait for school to end. This was the start of an exciting new life for Willie Davis. He was to attend a very special baseball academy in which he was the only student and Kenny the only teacher. Kenny held class all over the city. The first session started early one morning at Wrigley Field, and Willie was in for a surprise.
Well, when Kenny came up to me and asked me how would I like to turn around from batting right to left, I says, well, actually, I thought to myself, I says, well, I'm naturally a left-hander, and I just haven't tried batting left-handed before, so I said, well, maybe it won't be too hard, because I throw left-handed and I do everything left-handed, so why not try batting left-handed?
I wanted Willie to switch from a right-handed hitter to a left-handed hitter, because with his tremendous speed and it being closer by about 3 feet from the left side of the plate than it would be from the right side of the plate to first base, I felt that it would be a big asset to him.
I turned around and I started swinging. At first, it didn't seem real to me. I don't know, some way it just didn't seem right. But then after I worked on it 4, 5, 6 times, everything started falling into place, and I began to think it was a good idea after all.
I set up a pole in Wrigley Field to show Willie how to throw.
Kenny had another surprise. Willie's pitching days were over. Kenny would teach him to play center field, where his tremendous speed would help him cover a lot of territory. But first, Willie had to develop a strong throwing arm.
We'd go out there and we'd just throw for maybe a half an hour, and he'd tell me this, do it this way, and I'd say, okay, and I'd get tired, because there's a lot of work, and I said, but it was worth it,
After the workout was over, we spent many hours reminiscing what we could do to correct the mistakes that he had made during the day, and did not realize actually what kind of a boy Willie really was until I got closer to him and found out that he was a type of individual that he just wanted to be the best. He didn't want to be second. He wanted to be number one.
Yeah, when Kenny would come to my house sometimes, and he would bring these funny little tools, like I remember one, he bought the tennis racket. I said, what are we going to do, play tennis? And he says, no, this is to give you the idea of the end of your bat. I says, well, I don't know what you're talking about. He says, I know you don't. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you. And I says, okay, show me.
And Kenny showed him. he had a unique bag of tricks. Tennis rackets, volleyballs, and strange-looking bats. Kenny had reduced the art of batting to a science. Like a time study engineer, he had it all worked out. How to hit the ball, where to hit the ball, how to get power, and how to follow through. Willie was beginning to get tired of the drilling over and over again, from early morning to late at night. Like all kids, he wanted to get out and play baseball.
Many nights, Willie would come home tired and discouraged after his little sessions with Kenny there. So I'd come in, I'd say, well, Willie, let's go out and catch a few. And he said, no, he says, I'm tired. I've been working with Kenny all day, and I just can't make it now. I said, well, if you don't think you can make it now, you might as well forget it, because it takes a lot of practice to make the big leagues, and you're no good anyway. Why don't you just forget it? And he'd jump up right there, and he says, well, I see I have to prove something to you as well as everyone else. So he'd run outside there, and I'd come out, and we'd go through those routines from start to finish. And then Kenny'd come over the next day, and he was really impressed.
But Kenny was also impressed with Willie as a person. His confidence, his endless enthusiasm, his genuine sense of humor. And of course, Willie was an eager audience for Kenny's tales of the colorful world of baseball.
We used to go up to the press box at the Coliseum and watch the ball games.
Well, the first time I went with Kenny at the Coliseum was like a whole new experience, you know, like starting school. You know, everything was different, and well, every time we'd see somebody hit a ball or something big, so exciting. You know, it was the first time I was actually looking at a Major League Baseball game. We'd sit up there and he'd point out to me these different mistakes that they would make, and he would always tell me, he says, see what they're doing now, you can't do that, because in the big leagues you can't afford to make mistakes. And he says, in the big leagues, that's the little things that keep you back. You always have to do the little things.
We used to watch the outstanding outfielders in the National League, such as Willie Mays, who was his favorite, Duke Snyder, Henry Aaron, and I would try to explain to Willie as to what positions they were in, how they were playing a left-handed hitter and a right-handed hitter, whether they were playing him to pull. And at the start, it was a little complicated to Willie, but having the opportunity to watch the stars, he got a pretty good idea of how the outfield should be played.
Even after the games, we'd go down onto the field, actually where they were playing, you know, and we'd try to recapture some of this stuff that we saw. He'd remind me what I saw in the game, and I'd try to comment, you know, what I thought about it. He said, did you see Willie Mays throw from the outfield? I said, yeah, it was terrific. He said, you think you can do that? I said, I think so.
After the game, Willie and I would sometimes walk clear into East Los Angeles, which was a good many miles from the ballpark, just talking baseball.
As the weeks passed, Kenny stepped up the training, bringing in new gadgets to help with batting instruction. The breaks between practice sessions got shorter and shorter.
Willie used to work out with me until his hands bled. I asked him to put on gloves, and he said that it just didn't feel comfortable wearing gloves, that his hands would heal up, but first thing he wanted to do was learn how to handle a bat.
Now, at last, Kenny felt that Willie was ready to play ball. Kenny put Willie in a series of games against Dodger rookies living in the area. Now Kenny would be able to see how Willie would perform against first-class competition.
I felt that this day was one of the big days in his life as well as my own. After many hard months of training, I knew that Willie Davis was ready to go into professional ball.
The next day, Kenny took Willie to see Fresco Thompson, head of the Dodger farm system.
So I went into Frisco's office, and he comes up to me in this big, deep voice. He says, "Hello, Willie." He kind of scared me.
Kenny's told me some nice things about you. Glad to have you with us. Will you sit down, please, Miss Davis and Willie?
Fresco Thompson, relying on Kenny's judgment, had a minor league contract waiting for Willie. It was a big day for Kenny Myers, for Mrs. Davis, and for Willie. Signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers was the culmination of all his dreams.
You stand right there, Willie. All right, now, Willie, since you've signed the contract, we'll put the cap on you. You're officially a member of the family. We're delighted, of course, to...
Willie's start in the Dodger organization was a modest one, with a Class C team, the Reno Silver Sox of the California League.
After we sign these boys to their first contract, we like to put them in a league with players of similar ability and similar experience so that they'll get the confidence and build themselves up. Willie responded with a fantastic year at Reno. He led the league in hits, runs, total bases, doubles, and triples, and wound up with the highest batting average in the California State League, 365. On the basis of this fine year, the Los Angeles Dodgers assigned Willie's contract to Spokane of the Pacific Coast League, which is AAA and just a step below the major leagues. This didn't bother Willie at all because he responded again with another fine year, leading the league in runs, hits, total bases, setting a new Pacific Coast League record for three-base hits, and again winding up with the highest batting average in the Coast League, 346.
In the short period of only 2 years, Willie had raced past 300 other players in the Dodger farm organization. Now he would report to Vero Beach for spring training as one of the 38 members of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of these 38, only 25 would be in a Dodger uniform on opening day. To be there, Willie would have to fight for a position on the team against some of the greatest names in baseball. For Willie Davis, spring training could be the turning point of his young baseball career.